If you were to ask me my opinion on what's likely to happen in the world and in our society over the course of the near future, I could paint you a pretty grim picture. What I'd be likely to say is what's going to happen is climate change is irreversible, so it's just going to get worse. That capitalism has been becoming more and more predatory, and that is its nature. It will go on that way. That pandemic is not under control yet, and it could still produce new variants. Our political system seems incapable of handling any of these things. Our society is very divided, and we have people promoting political candidates, politicians, who seem like they'd be happy to gain power and do away with whatever elements of democracy we have in our political system. I say those things are likely to go on, and many of them are likely to get worse, and there could be a lot of suffering. There'll be climate refugees, there'll be further divisiveness, there could be political catastrophe. I would say those are reasonable concerns. Now you may say, or ask me, well, why do you make these videos? What keeps you going? Why talk about politics and why talk about what we can do and generate some kind of vision of where we're trying to take things? Why do these things if it looks so grim to you? And I would say I do it out of hope. Where does that hope come from? Here's my experience, is that hope is not based on reason, nor is it based on how you feel about things. It is based on practice, which leads to habit. The most important factor in human behavior, in my opinion, in most cases, is habits based on practice, not what we think about things or reason about things, and not how we feel in the moment. It's based on habit. And this way of looking at it comes not just from my decades of, in my fumbling way, trying to work toward a better society. It also comes from other practices in my life. So I would say my hope for a better world comes from continual practice and the habit of doing what I can to work toward a better world. That's where it comes from, and that's what sustains me, and that's what keeps me going. Will it make a big difference? Will it make any difference? I don't know, honestly. And it looks likely that this won't make much difference at all. On the other hand, it might. My experience of meditation and my knowledge of some Buddhist principles that have panned out for me, have seemed real in my practice, underlie some of what I'm saying here. Meditation, I'm not trying to get all spiritual on you. I'm just talking about in a practical sense how human beings work. Meditation is a practice that you develop through doing, just like working for political change is a practice that you develop by doing it. In meditation, first you establish the practice and the habit of sitting down and just paying attention. And you put your thoughts and your feelings about it secondary. As the habit becomes established, then you learn ways to manage your thoughts and feelings in order to continue to support the practice rather than impede the practice. With working toward a better world, what that means is, in one respect, you question your own thoughts. And this is part of meditation as well. A basic Buddhist principle is that you follow a path and you establish certain practices, and then you look at your thoughts and determine which are helpful and which are unhelpful, or as they say, skillful or unskillful. So I look at my thoughts and I say, is it helpful for me to think about how bad things could be? Not necessarily. Is it helpful to doubt if my own ways of thinking about this are true? Yes, it's very helpful. So what I do with my thoughts is I say, well, it looks reasonable. It looks even likely that things could get pretty bad. They've been bad and they're getting worse. But I say, I don't know everything. I don't know what everybody else is doing in the world. I know there are people who are doing things to try to make a better world. I know unexpected things can happen in life. I know throughout history, people have tried to predict the future and failed. So I know I don't know everything. So when my thoughts go to one direction or another, whether they're optimistic or pessimistic thoughts, doesn't matter because my thoughts are not a guide to practice, right? So I will focus on the thoughts or welcome the thoughts that are helpful in my practice of working toward a better world, and I will dismiss the thoughts that aren't helpful. Not necessarily I'll get rid of them. I'm just saying, even in spite of the fact that looks reasonable to me, that the world will keep going in a bad direction and my efforts will make no difference, that could not be true as well. I could be wrong about that. I've been wrong about a lot of things. Why not that? And if my emotions are not supporting my practice of working toward a better world, if I feel depressed, if I feel a sense of just wanting to be free of any responsibility for any of this, I do things that make myself feel better. And I saw an interesting meme on Facebook recently in which it listed how neurotransmitters that make you feel better can be boosted by particular types of practices, particular ways of doing things. For example, eating when you're hungry, completing something that a task you've started, give you a dopamine boost. Listening to music or exercising can help you with endorphins. Socializing with people, having physical touch, petting animals, give you a boost of oxytocin, and getting some sun, being out in nature, as well as meditating, can help you boost your serotonin. And these things I've learned, I had part of my career, I studied psychology and became a mental health counselor. And I know those things are true, that if you have practices established of taking care of yourself, you can always find ways to counteract bad moods. That doesn't mean they won't come, doesn't mean they won't be difficult to deal with, but it means there are ways you can deal with them when you notice them, and don't make the emotion your reality, that I feel discouraged, therefore nothing is worth doing. Doesn't matter if it's worth doing or not, the practice is do it. So for me, hope is based on the habit of working toward a better world, because only if people are working toward that has it any possibility whatsoever of taking place. As Robert Kennedy was saying, anytime somebody stands up to do the right thing, or to right an injustice, or to try to build a better world, I'm not quoting him exactly here, that gives a little ripple of hope to other people as well. So we need community, we need mutual support. And this is why I share these videos, because I think maybe something I say can give some support to other people, and the comments you give to me can give some encouragement and support back, right? So that hope is a practice that we can establish, and we can establish a community around that that makes it even more likely that our efforts will make some difference. We don't know that it will, but it's a way of life, and we can support each other in that way of life because, if for no other reason, it makes life more worth living, right? So that's what hope is to me.